Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to follow up on Senator Collins's question regarding, reports that a lot of the FBI investigators involved in reviewing the cases for January 6th were going to be purged. The Vice Chair, Senator Murray, myself, and many of my colleagues on this subcommittee wrote Attorney General Bondi a letter on February 8th. We've not gotten a response from them. That letter was directed at exactly this issue. Director Patel, can you track down that letter in the system and work with the Attorney General to get us a response? We wrote on February 8th about exactly the issues that Senator Collins just raised.
I'll track it down, sir.
Okay. Well, we will be hoping to get a response and insisting on a response. Let me ask you about the spend plan for fiscal year 2025. I mean, this is supposed to be a hearing, I know, on fiscal year 2026 budget. I said we got a little paragraph from the FBI about that. But one of the things this committee and the law requires are spend plans for the current fiscal year. In fact, when we passed the continuing resolution, we required that agencies provide their spend plans for fiscal year 2025 within 45 days of enactment. We're now 54 days after that, and we've gotten nothing from the FBI. This is a typical spend plan. For example, this is for fiscal year 2024, the most recent fiscal year. Director Patel, will you comply with the requirement that the FBI submit a spend plan?
Senator, I will comply with the requirement, and I believe I have to work with OMB on the apportionment of that, so we're working on that.
Can you give us a date? The fiscal year's 25 is, ticking away. Can you give us a date by which we'll get the spend plan that's already overdue?
I'll speak with OMB and get back to you on a date this week.
So the hang-up right now is OMB?
It's an interagency process, sir. I'm working through how to get these spend plans forward.
But the ball is in OMB's court right now, not the FBI's court, is what you're telling me.
It's in both of our courts, sir.
Okay. Well, right now, as one of the lead law enforcement officers, you're out of compliance with the requirements of the law. So I hope you will lead by example and get it to us. With respect to the congressional budget justification here, we don't have one. In other words, we have your one paragraph. We usually get, as I mentioned in my opening statement, a full justification, which helps this committee do its work in terms of putting together the budget. Can we, I believe that's within the entire domain of the FBI. Can you commit to getting us the budget justification for the FBI?
I will work with the department to do that.
Okay, so that's a yes?
I will work with the department. I have to report to DOJ on that and work with them to get you that plan.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad we are holding this hearing, but we have.
In this eye-opening video, we break down the recent Senate Appropriations hearing that reveals shocking delays, legal non-compliance, and a billion-dollar funding gap in the FBI's operations. Senator Van Hollen demands answers on missing spend plans, budget justifications, and the agency's failure to meet legal deadlines. What does this mean for national security and government accountability? Watch now for the full breakdown, context, and implications. The FBI, America's premier law enforcement agency, is under fire. In a Senate Appropriations Subcommittee hearing, lawmakers grilled FBI Director Patel over the Bureau's failure to deliver legally required spend plans, delayed budget justifications, and an admitted billion-dollar funding shortfall. Today, we're breaking down exactly what happened during this explosive hearing, what it means for oversight, and why it could affect national security. Senator Chris Van Hollen wasted no time addressing the elephant in the room, the FBI's failure to submit a mandatory spend plan for fiscal year 2025. Despite a legal requirement to deliver these documents within 45 days of the continuing resolution, 54 days had passed and the FBI submitted nothing.
We're now 54 days after that and we've got nothing from the FBI.
Director Patel attempted to shift partial responsibility to the Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, saying it's an interagency process. But Van Hollen was clear, the FBI is out of compliance. Beyond the spend plan, Van Hollen pointed to a glaring absence, the congressional budget justification. Instead of the detailed breakdown typically provided, Congress only received a vague paragraph from the FBI.
We really don't have a budget to work with.
Without these documents, Congress can't evaluate spending priorities or allocate funds effectively. It raises serious questions. Is this negligence or a tactic to avoid scrutiny? In testimony before the House,
We obviously, Mr. Chairman, we really don't have a budget to work with. Let me ask you about your testimony the other day in the House, Mr. Director, where I think you conceded that the budget request, as skinny as it is, was really not adequate to meet the mission. In fact, I think you testified that you would really need another $1 billion. So would you agree that this budget that's been submitted is inadequate to meet the needs, and that your testimony yesterday about it, that another $1 billion are required to meet the mission, is that your view?
Senator, I think my view is that we will make and agree with this budget as it stands and make it work for the operational necessity of the FBI. And as the head of the FBI, I was simply asking for more funds because I can do more with more money.
Well, I understand that OMB has a say in this, obviously, but I think your testimony yesterday was important and revealing that as the director, you believe that another $1 billion over and above the current level is really necessary to complete the mission. And it does put this subcommittee in a difficult position because really that's, we rely on you and others to persuade the OMB and the president to submit a budget that meets the needs and requirements of the FBI. And clearly, at least based on your testimony in the House, you don't think that that's happened. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Van Hollen.
lacks oversight, democratic accountability erodes. This isn't about politics, it's about the process, the rule of law, transparency, and a government that works for its people. The FBI is asking for more money while failing to meet the legal requirements tied to that funding. Congress wants answers. The American people deserve them. We'll keep watching. Stay informed. Stay critical. Subscribe for more deep dives into government transparency and accountability. Sound off in the comments, do you trust the current oversight process?